you become wealthy, you become powerful because now you have money to sway elections, to sway organizations, to sway policies, to hire certain people. Like money is power, like it or not. It just is.
All right, everyone, it is interview time, and we are here with Nikole Mitchell to talk all about sex, money, the Mile High Club, orgasms, and essentially how to embody your wildest dreams or turn your dreams and fantasies into reality, also known as following your pleasure, but making it actually happen in all the ways. And so we're personally super excited about this because who doesn't want to manifest more of their wildest dreams into their lives? So we will be learning with you, everyone. We always are. So welcome to the show, Nikole. Super excited to have you here. And even though our listeners heard a little bit about you in the intro, can you share more about how you got to where you are today in the field of, well, I don't want to call it manifesting, but in helping people turn their dreams into reality?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. So I went viral as the pastor turned stripper, but what most people don't realize is I was a life coach before that, and I still am a life coach. And so my passion is helping people's wildest dreams come true. And so what that means is you first have to know what that is, and you have to admit it. When I first started this journey, I'm like, I want to make a little more money. When the truth was, I wanted to be an A-list celebrity. I want to be a movie star. I want to be rolling in the dough. I want to be living in California. I had wildly big dreams, but it took me a while to have the courage to own it. But if you can't own it, you can't manifest it. So the first step is owning the actual fullness and size of your dreams, because once you own it, it's quite easy to reverse engineer from there.
I want to be an astronaut. I actually do. I want to go to space. I think it's going to happen.
Oh my God, space terrifies me.
I had dreams about Elon Musk last night, not sexy ones either, but I was like, this is really weird. And he owned like a cougar in a cage, and it was like really weird. Anyway,
an actual cougar?
Actually, like a cougar, like an actual wildcat, not a woman. So I have a question that is in relation to, before I get to the nitty gritty that is laid out for us with questions. But how did that happen when you were a pastor and then you decided to get into the dancing sector and stripping? And did you ever see anyone from church in the strip club?
Okay, so I was a pastor at a megachurch, and it was my passion. I grew up in the church. I grew up with religion. It was my whole life. I was a good girl through and through. But the older I became and the more I rose up in leadership, the more disillusioned I became, the more of the politics I saw, the more of the deceit I saw happening. You looked one way, but something completely differently was happening behind the scenes, and just felt so out of integrity with who I was. I also realized later in life I was queer and my church was not queer accepting. So I had like hide this, and just felt more and more trapped, more and more censored, more and more controlled. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm a grown woman in her 30s, afraid every day of living her truth. Like, what is the point of life if I cannot live my truth? And so finally I reached kind of a breaking point, and it's like, I'm walking away from it all. Like, I don't even know who Nikole Mitchell is apart from all the dogma and indoctrination and rules and shoulds and oughts and supposed tos. Who am I underneath all of that? And so I went on this journey. It was like, if I peel all that away, my church, my community, my leadership, the rules, what's left? And I found on that journey, like my deep, strong, passionate sexual desires and urges came ripping and raring to the surface. Like I had shoved them down so hard, so consistently, so passionately to be able to fit in the community I raised in, that when I finally gave room for my truth to come out, it came back with a fire and a fierceness that honestly scared me a little bit, because I've been taught if I listened to my body, if I listened to my desires, it would ruin me, only to find out it was setting me up for the best life I could have imagined for myself.
That's great. I love that. And I would totally like to listen to you being a reverend. And I think that's really cool. And preach. I like it. Church. Yeah. So coming back to the actual topic of the episode, because we've never done an episode like this. This is new for us. So we're talking about dreams and fantasies, turning those into reality. And you've sort of touched on the manifestation part and really living your dreams, embodying that in your thought process. So it can be difficult for people because it can feel kind of like you're role playing, but you're not role playing here because you're trying to manifest what you really want in your everyday life. So let's talk about what are some of the barriers that people encounter when it comes to living out their dreams.
I mean, one of the first ones is, are you willing to do what it takes? When I hired a Hollywood coach, I was still living in Minnesota. I was on food stamps, and I told her my dream. I want to be an A-list celebrity. I want to be an actress. I want to have movies and films like made about me. I want to be in them. And she's like, then you have to move to California. And I was like, what? Wait. Come on. Like, let's not be ridiculous. Like, can't I pursue this amazing dream from where I'm at? And she's like, no. Like, just to the point, like, you say you want that dream, you want the desire, get your ass where it belongs. And I was terrified. I've wanted to live in California since I was high school, but you all know, like, this is a different planet here with the cost of living, and you just cannot compare it to anywhere else in the US. And I said, okay, if I'm going to say I'm going to do what I'm going to do, I have to do what it takes. And so I did. I packed up my entire family while still on food stamps with a hope and a prayer and the money from the sale of our house, and moved to California. And I said, there is no choice but to make it. And it's stuff like that. Most people will not do that. It's terrifying to put money where your mouth is, to live in integrity with the fullness and the size of your dreams. But it is the only way for them to come true.
So it's like being willing to take risks.
It's scary. And I wish we could all manifest our wildest dreams sitting on our couch, sipping mimosas, but it is putting yourself out there in really uncomfortable places and uncomfortable ways, and risking money and risking loss and risking failure. But that's the only way to make it, is with risk involved.
And so I would imagine, like, so we'll get more into the money piece of this too. But, for folks who, because a lot of business is taking risks and actually like putting money out and then and not having money in return right away to create your dream. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They're not willing to do that. In fact, I think a lot of people don't think that's how it should be. Like that you're never in this like deficit building phase. Do you have anything to say to those people?
Oh my gosh, I get that. It's interesting. When I started my life coaching business, I told the universe, I will do anything to make my dreams come true, but go in debt. Mm-hmm. That was a boundary. And I do think there's actually some wisdom to that. I think people can kind of recklessly go into debt. And I just like had the standard of, I'm not someone who goes into debt. And I find when we go after our dreams, the universe usually tests us in the one place we say we'll never break our boundary. Like, this is not available. This is not an option. And I remember when I invested my first life coach, it took every last dollar we owned. And I felt radically different by the end of that coaching package. But had I made $1 more, I hadn't. And I knew staying in a coaching container was the right call for me. So the only way I could hire my next coach was by applying for a credit card and put on a credit card. And I was kind of freaking out because I had made this promise that I would never go into debt. But when I thought about it, it's like, whatever amount I put on that credit card, or if you take out a loan or you borrow money from friends, there's a million ways you can do it. I always zoom out and say, will I make this money back in my lifetime? Will this pay dividends now and later in my life? And every time the answer is yes, I take the risk. I take the leap. And so I've had to go into debt multiple times to get where I am today, multi-7-figure business owner. And what it has gifted me is I no longer fear it. I used to be so afraid of debt and what it meant about me and what if it controlled me. And now it's like, to me, it's just a neutral tool. It's a tool I can use to get what I want. And I can either freak out about it and shame myself, or I can feel really freaking smart that I'm willing to take a temporary dip for massive profit in the end.
Yeah, I love credit cards. I'm like, fuck yeah,
those credit card points, baby.
Yeah.
My credit card points have paid for 2 European trips the past 2 years. Like, I'm not complaining.
Yeah. There's a game there. There's like a map that you can really benefit. And yeah, that's a hard game, but like that's what I always tell friends that have that mentality where it's like, I don't want to be in debt. I'm like, how many people actually own their house outright? The banks actually own it. Let's be real. How many people actually can afford like half of the things that people own? Like when you see people driving in Orange County, I lived in Orange County. I was like, how many people actually own their cars? And I was asking the dealership and they're like, oh yeah, people like don't pay their car payments for months. They just want like keeping up with the Joneses. And that's like a thing that California sucks the life out of you when it comes to keeping up with the Joneses. Oh, yeah. So you're just like, no, you don't have to, right? Well, especially in LA.
A lot of people are comfortable, like, okay, I'm going to go to school to be a doctor. And most of those people have a lot of debt because it's expensive. It's a lot of years in school. Yet, like, I'm going to go and build my own business and put that, have debt on my credit card. It's the same thing, but there's this idea that like, that's not wrong, but like not the same thing, but it is.
There's stigma and there's, shame associated with it. You're right. Because we've totally socially accepted 30-year mortgages on homes. We've totally socially accepted paying decades off of your student loans. But when I wanted to hire my life coach and take credit card debt, I was like, oh, you're irresponsible. You're reckless. I'm like, but am I, or am I just choosing debt of a different form to get me exactly what I want? You're willing to go in debt for your house. I'm willing to go into debt for my dreams.
And I will say finances will suck the sexuality right out of my body. Like when I get like down about finances, I'm like, I
Dry pussy.
Don't touch me. My pussy's dry. I can't talk to anyone. And that's why this manifestation thing, it works. Like Jim Carrey talked about, right? When he manifested that $1 million, first $1 million payment, and he carried around that check. And I always looked up to him. And then I watched The Secret all the time, manifesting, but it does ebb and flow. And talking about this, so you're from the Midwest. I feel like that's like a lot of what I had instilled in me, that it was bad if you didn't own a house. It was bad if you had a bunch of debt. It was bad. And I still am paying off my student loans from the University of Minnesota. Don't you know, Twin Cities, I'm a Golden Gopher. And I think that I did have shame around that for a long time. And watching dating shows, sometimes they'll be like, what's your credit score? I'm like, what the fuck kind of question is that? So this isn't a question, but I want to say something to everyone out there. There's no shame in having a bunch of debt. Like, people file for bankruptcy all the time. Doesn't some politicians that don't we know some politicians that
We
file
know
for
a couple, no, not naming names.
Yeah. So coming to that, so when it comes to this, like, sex, relationships, and like weaving this into what we're talking about, how can people go from just settling for something or tolerating something and then choosing to have it all? Finances, the sex, the relationships, all of it.
Well, I think it was, can we break it down into more of the manifesting and calling in or making your wildest dreams a reality when it comes to sex and relationships, and then we can do the money thing after, or one or the other.
Let's do all of them.
And then we can connect them. Let's just get crazy.
Okay, let me just connect it from the beginning, and then we can dive into each one separately. Because here's my very biased opinion: just date rich people. I'm just saying. I was a woman who was married to a very good but very poor man, and good does not pay the bills. Good does not mean they're good in bed. Good doesn't mean it's good for your quality of life. So when I got divorced, and I was like, I will never put myself in that position again, because we've been convinced you can either be good or rich. You can either date a good person or you can marry a rich person. But I'm the woman who believes in both and. Why can't I have love and money? Why can't I be sexual and spiritual? Why can't I be a model and a mother? Why can't I be risque and be respected? Like, do not tell me I can only choose one thing. And that's what I see happens all the time when people manifest. They only feel worthy of or capable of one, which is great. At least you have somewhere to start. But then they sabotage by settling in the other area. So I completely resonate with you. Said, like, once money issues are an issue, my pussy gets dry. So when I got divorced, I'm like, I am only available for dating wealthy people. I will never put myself in that position again. And I'm telling you, dating someone who's very wealthy is a very big turn on. It's very hot. When money's not an issue, it eliminates so much stress from your relationship, eliminates so much stress from your date, and you can actually just be with one another. So this is actually something I help my clients with, is like, yes, honey, like, go make the money of your dreams and go get the love of your dreams, but don't settle in either area.
I don't know what that's like to date wealthy men.
It depends how you define wealthy.
I like them broke. I like them to be artists, or I like them to be awesome.
Do you like that though? Or are you settling for that?
You know, I like to be in, I don't know. This is not about me. Let's move on.
So is this where the good girl, maybe this is different, the good girl or good guy complex, and like how that gets in the way? Is that is that what you're speaking to, or is that something else?
Yeah, no, because I think, when I wanted to become wealthy, I remember I declared this in 2017. I had been on food stamps at that point for almost 7 years. I didn't get off until 2019. And, being poor is very expensive. Mm-hmm. It takes a huge toll on your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health. You can't afford medical care. You can't afford proper nutrition. You can't afford mental health support. There's so much you can't afford. And it's so detrimental to your overall quality of life. It's detrimental when you're a parent. I had 3 young children I'm trying to raise on food stamps. It was unbelievably stressful. And I knew if there's anything that would change the quality of my life, it would be money. And I was unashamed about that. Money to me is neutral. It doesn't make you good or bad. It just amplifies who you really are at the end of the day. And I do believe I'm a really good person. And I'm the best person to have money because I will do so much good with it. I'll be generous with it. I will live well with it. So when I came out to my family and my close friends and my queer community that I was on this journey, this mission to millions to become wealthy, they looked at me with this horror, as though I sold my soul to the devil. Like, how could you? I thought you had values, Nikole. I thought you had morals. I was automatically casted as a villain for wanting a resource that would drastically change the quality of life for me and my children. So I had to be quiet, and I couldn't talk about my passion for money and how much it was changing my life, because people thought I was leaving the good girl behind to become some greedy capitalist, when I was just becoming a good girl with money. So people will often choose their goodness over their success, when I want you to know that you get to be good and still be successful.
Yeah, because I think it's like the people listening to what you said earlier, like, I've decided I'm only going to date people who are wealthy. Some people might be like, oh, so shallow. There's so much more to a person. But like, you're right. If that's important to you, just like someone else's right is to date, I don't know, I want to only date women, right? Like it's everyone's right for their.
Oh, no, only date basketball players.
There you go. Yeah,
Right.
you do you. You do you. I like that about you.
I think people get really triggered by it. And I would say men because they feel left behind. Right. But I'm like, I promise you, majority of women are, at least in the circles I run in, they marry for love, not for money. So women like me are actually a very small part of the population who have a standard that, yes, I want you to be an amazing person and you have to have money. To me, that doesn't make me, I don't think it makes me shallow. I think it makes me smart. But you don't have to worry, man. You get to find love exactly where you are because the majority of women want what you have to offer. But I love helping women up level their desire, because if you get to have love on your terms, why wouldn't you also pick love with money? Why not? Why wouldn't you choose both instead of just one?
I think this is an interesting perspective because it goes against everything that I think within myself, because I'm like, I want it for myself. I don't need a man or another human to bring me the things. And that's not shaming that mentality, because I have had that before. And I have dated some rich dudes and actually a billionaire dude once. And I don't know, it was just like, for me, it was the person, not the money, but it just wasn't in flow. Yeah.
Say that again.
Right.
That's
it was the person, not the money. But I really want to, in my world, manifest all the money and all of the good energy and beautiful people for myself, and know that those things will trickle in, and a man or a partner that has whatever they offer and that can love me, I think it will all be in flow. But that's just me. And I know that I attached money to the bad all the time, right? A lot of people do that. You talked about that. And what I've learned is to treat money like it's a boyfriend. So I will write letters to money like, you are fucking sexy. You are fucking hot. You make my life so goddamn good. And and I'm like, you make me have all the best experiences. Thank you so much for being so present in my life. XO April, your most coveted lover, April. So that being said, let's talk about money, my boyfriend money.
It's so true though. I've written all those same love letters, and like, I love what you said though. It was the person, not the money. Right. And like, I think it does push back on the norms, but I'm the same way. I'm very successful. I'm very driven. I personally don't want to be in a position where, again, I don't want to be financially dependent upon a man. I learned that the hard way. There's a reason we were on food stamps for 9 years, right? So I'm very driven. I want to make my own money. And there's something really beautiful when you have two successful people in a relationship. It is a turn on for both of us. My partner never had a partner with money. I've never had a partner with money. And now that we're experiencing this relationship for the first time, it is like the biggest breath of fresh air, because I know he's good, I'm good. And when we're together, it multiplies. So again, this brings up all the stereotypes and assumptions. Me saying fall in love with love and money doesn't mean you don't have your own. You can't have your own. I actually encourage women to make their own for so many reasons, but you get to have both. I get to marry or have a partner with money and love, and I get to be love and have money.
Yeah, and again, everyone, like, you get to choose what your priorities are. But you did say, you were like, hey, who's going to actually say no to the money part? But I think there's just all this idea of like, not wanting to be a shallow person. I want to be a conscious being.
I've had plenty of like hippie friends that we know that were totally on struggle street, and one person in particular, and now she married a hedge fund. Like, I don't know, he operates a hedge fund.
Who's a wonderful person.
Who's a wonderful person
for the money.
But like, now she's like flying first class and talking, and I was like, it feels pretty good, doesn't it? Well, that shit feels nice. And she's like,
kind of talk shit about that stuff, right?
Totally
and now she's like, it's actually really nice. Like, yes, duh.
I'm like, oh, good for you. You welcome to the club. Welcome to the club.
And here's the thing: when you have more money, you can actually be a better hippie. You
can
afford all the organic options. You can afford, having a personal chef instead of eating fast food. Like, you can pay someone a living wage to make you the healthiest food and the best food with the best ingredients. Like, money makes you a better hippie. That's what, and it's funny. I was given so much crap by my fellow hippie friends, and then I became wealthy. And then guess who came asking me for money? You can't be mad at it and one in at the same time. Pick one.
I'm going to invest it. I'm going to invest it well. You're like, no, you're not.
Yeah. Well, and then also for the hippies out there, the people who want to do good things, the earth is their priority. With money, you can help to save the earth too. And
donate to causes, organizations, buy your electric cars. Like, money gives you so much resources. When I was poor, I was forced to buy the cheapest stuff. And we know a lot of the cheap is not the good stuff. It's not the earth friendly stuff. So poor actually was causing me to damage the planet more versus when I have money to afford the best options for me and the best options for the environment.
Hell yeah. I'm with you on this. And
hell yeah.
I do good with any money that comes into my life too. And I did think about getting my dog a grill at one point, but I didn't. He lost his bottom teeth, but I didn't get him a grill. I thought about it. I was like, this is not a good way to spend my money.
No.
I don't know. It might be pretty amazing. But that's the thing. When you have so much money, you don't have to choose. I'm going to get my dog a grill and I'm going to buy an electric car. Like, again, that both and mentality. But it is, first, I say, first, you have to have the desire to have a lot of money. I can't make you be rich. I can't make anyone want to be rich. You have to want that for yourself. But then if you do want to become rich, I always challenge my clients, then you might as well become the richest version possible. So you're never limited. You're not checking with your budget on what you want. You're checking with your desires for what you want.
That.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset shift right there. So pretend that I'm living in intense scarcity. I'm just going to use myself, or both Amy and I were like, we're so starving. We've been eating McDonald's and no problem with McDonald's. And I say Mick, but I'm just saying Mac for the sake of this conversation.
Funsies.
So how can people change their mindset if they're living in this scarcity mentality and they want to be in the Mile High Club, meaning they want to bang it out on private jets. They want to get down. They really do. And they just don't know how because their brain goes straight to scarcity. I got to pinch pennies. I got to shop on Amazon for my everything, disposable fast fashion or whatever it is. So we can make jokes about this a little bit because it's sexy to fly on a private jet. I still haven't. Calling all manifestations for April flying in a PJ.
Okay, two comments here. So I have flown private many times, but not the private you think of there. I don't know what the actual technical term is. I call it private public jet because it's a private jet up to 30 people can fly on. So I fly that and it's sometimes cheaper than commercial airlines. This is what people don't know. We are so quick to judge rich versions that we don't even look into it. And it is sometimes cheaper than regular airlines. And every time I fly commercial airlines, it's a joke. I'm not judging anyone. I do still fly commercial airlines all the time, but we call it the peasant airlines because we've gotten used to the private public jet version. But just putting it out there, when you see something that your brain initially writes off as like, I can never afford it, just look into it. You might be surprised how accessible and affordable to fly it or to have that experience. I still remember the first time I flew first class, I always wrote it off as impossible. It was $500. And I know 500 can be a lot for some people, but for me, I thought it was like, 5,000, like 500. I have to buy that. I have to buy that. But back to your original question of what do you do when you are like so crazy tight? I've been there for many, many years. Thank God we have the internet. We have so many free resources, YouTube, masterclasses, Audible, like anything and everything that's on personal development, devour it. I just hosted a free masterclass yesterday called The Courageous Comeback. It was powerful. It was life-changing. People could not believe the content I delivered for free because I know what it's like to be poor. And then the upgrade after that, I had a $111 upgrade and I had a $333 upgrade. So I meet people where they're at, depending where you want to go. And I have offers all the way up to 40,000. There is an offer for every single person, no matter your level of income. Find the one that you can get in at, even if it's free, and start implementing what you're learning, and it will change your life.
And I want to link this to the orgasm piece here because you mentioned before we were recording, I know we're kind of hopping like money, sex, but hey, everyone, they have a lot in common. But so I believe you were saying that you were in a long-term relationship where you didn't have any orgasms. So one of your hard boundaries, this is the like manifesting your dreams and not settling for less, was you will only date people who can give you orgasms, right?
100%. If you don't get me off, we don't get it on. Like this is not staying. Of course, I have lived my life too long without orgasms. This is a requirement. And I remember when I first made that a boundary, I felt so selfish and shallow. And I'm like, wait, if there's anything to be selfish about, it is my pleasure. It is my orgasms. And it became my litmus test. I would go on dates. I would have sex on the first date because if you cannot get me off, we are not banging again. And people can say that's ridiculous. You need time to learn about each other. But you can just tell I would go on these dates with men. They would wham, bam, and done in 30 seconds and then not even try to get me off. And I'm like, if you're not even willing to impress me on a first date, you are not getting a second date with me. And now I've manifested a partner who gives me multiple orgasms a day. I went from being given 0 orgasms until I was 36 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
And now I'm given multiple a day. I am so glad I did not settle for less than what I currently have. And I will say this, because I deeply believe our deepest pleasure leads to our biggest profit. The month I was given my first orgasm is when I had my first $100,000 month. I'm just saying there is a connection there.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It is probably something to do with your own ability to feel pleasure. If you're not stressing about how am I going to feed my children, it might be more difficult to have an orgasm. Not that I think that there's weight to what you're saying as well.
I agree. It's both and. I think about that. Like my ex is a really good person, and, things are really tight for him. And I think about how that must eat at him, the daily stress, because I lived that for most of my 20s and 30s, and how having money, it does provide spaciousness. There's luxury in the space, not even just things. It's like the luxury in my mental load, the luxury in my emotional capacity, because I'm not freaking out every minute of every day of how I'm going to afford this, how I'm going to pay for that. There's that. And to me, that's the ultimate point of wealth. It's the luxury of space to breathe and be, and not be weighed down by stress or worry or anxiety.
Plus, you get all like the fancy products for your face so you look good. You also get like, you can get some treatments on the body. You can, as you're saying, go to the spa, do all the things. There's a lot that comes with having enough income or earning or cash accessibility that can improve your life. And again, coming back to what you said, it's like you can be a good person that has a lot of money.
And I actually argue, if you're a good person, you have a responsibility to get rich. Because if there's anyone we need loaded, it's good people with good hearts who want to do good in the world. So I'm willing to say that if you're a good person, you have a responsibility to get rich.
That's great, because a lot of people say if you're a good person, you should have children. Like that's what
I was just thinking. I was
people reproduce, but instead, like, okay, but yeah, also those same people or people who don't want kids that are good people should just make a lot of money so they can help the world. Right?
Yeah, or be like me, be a single mom and get rich in the process. I became a millionaire during COVID as a single mom of 3. Like anything is freaking possible. And I think I realized too, the patriarchy is a real thing. And I think that's actually a tool of the oppressors, is to convince good people your goodness is enough, don't want more. Because if you become wealthy, you become powerful. Because now you have money to sway elections, to sway organizations, to sway policies, to hire certain people. Like money is power, like it or not, it just is. But if you convince someone just be good and that's enough, they're trying to keep your power limited. And it's something I want to blow the roof off of, like, girl or honey, like, get rich and be good and blow shit up. Like they've had the power long enough. It's time for it to be in your hands, and you can trust yourself with it, because I know you'll do so much good.
And we have a lot of dudes listening.
Yeah.
Don't start eating. Don't get all
to them too.
It applies to everyone.
Yeah,
okay.
All genders. All genders. Yeah. If you're good, you're a good person. Make that money. It doesn't matter what your gender is.
Get rich, honey. 100%.
What do you think? We have to wrap this up in a second, but what do you think about, I feel like I heard someone say that when they were doing like their money manifestation work, I forgot who said this, but they would masturbate while doing that and give themselves orgasms while they're calling in, like tying money into their psyche. What do you think about that?
I love it. Anything that connects you to like believing in anything is possible. So I don't believe in a God anymore since I left church, but I joke the only time I believe in God is when I'm having sex or getting off. It's like, I'm like, oh my God, thank you, God, that orgasm is like, I feel so open to possibilities that I've done that. When I'm like climaxing, I'll say, like, as I'm coming, money's coming to me, clients are coming to me, opportunities are coming to me, cash is coming to me, like everything I want is coming to me. I'm so magnetic. And when you're all tingly and you feel irresistible and you feel sensual and you feel like anything can happen, capitalize on that energy and use it. There's a phrase someone uses where it's like meditate, masturbate, manifest, or something like that, right? Like meditate, masturbate, and use that energy to draw in what you want.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think that's a good mantra. You should make some shirts with that, Nikole. So we'll wrap up, and I want people to learn how to find you. Something came up for me, and while you're talking about that, I'm going to figure out how to phrase it, because when you were saying about the manifestation, I was thinking about the specific incident. But first, I want you to talk about your work a little bit and how people can find and work with you, because I'm going to try to phrase this in a way that will be great. So how can we find more Nikole, and how can people work with you?
Come get me. I have a website, NikoleMitchell.com. Nikole is spelled with a K. And I'm on all the social media platforms. I'm the most active on Instagram and Facebook. I'm always having classes, programs, offers. I have a new mastermind starting in 2025 for people who are like, I know I'm meant for so much more. I'm ready to scale my income. I'm ready to have more fame, more pleasure. Like this mastermind is where you get to have it all. So you can just follow me, say hi. I love meeting people. And if anything resonates with you, I would love to have you.
I love that. Okay, I figured out how to say it. So, in terms of where we live now, right? In terms of 2025 almost being upon us, there's a lot of digital currency, right? And that's when you were talked about cash, because I think I used to dream about cash being in the physical form. And so I thought this would be a great way to end this interview, because right now you can pretty much dream. Do you think, like, for instance, Jeff Bezos could pull out like $2 trillion out of the bank? No, the banks don't have enough cold, hard cash to give you that. So is there a good practice for everyone that's manifesting cash to switch that? Because I'm a millennial. So I used to use, there were coins involved. There was hard cash. So how can we manifest more digital currency? Is Dogecoin going to go up, Nikole?
Let me give you the answer. No, I love this. I think it's all connected. I remember when I was poor, I never had cash in me. I just didn't have the money. And I remember one time intentionally putting 31s with $100 bill wrapped around it into like a gangster roll in my purse. So every time I opened it, I saw this fat wad of cash that felt like hundreds of dollars, and it was, 130. And I would just feel this moment of like, oh my God, I'm so rich for a split second in my very poor reality. And it was just enough of a hit to still believe it was possible I could have money someday. So I do say there's still value in something about hard cash. If you can have it in your purse. I used to have a money altar by my bed every night. I did what Jim Carrey did. I wrote a check out for a certain amount. I kissed it every night. I kissed it every morning. Within 1 year, I manifested it. It was insanity. I wrote a ridiculous number. I'm like, there's no way. And it happened. So there's something about the tangible. I do highly encourage the tangible because it just kind of forces you to face every day. But use that same imagination to like, oh my God, PayPal notifications, Stripe notifications, Kajabi payments, whatever your method is of money coming in, like it's always showing up. And I teach my clients, I never, ever, ever limit the form that money comes in. And I'll give an example, like who uses checks these days? No one uses checks. Like we're all digital now, sometimes cash, card always. But I just think checks are so fun because it's old school and fun. Why not? Like money surprised me in every way. And I remember one time, like in this journey of learning how to manifest money, my now ex-husband was at work and he got up from his desk, went to the bathroom, came back, and there was a check on his desk from the vending machine company saying they owed him a refund. Like I love shit like that. Like, yes, give me the cash, give me the Venmo payments 100% all day, every day. But why not throw some random checks at me in the process? I have received so many crazy checks like this over the years. So all of that to say, don't ever limit the form of money. Stay open to all the ways it can happen. And if you want to get into the digital world or the digital currency, learn to get really good at it. I'm really good at PayPal. I'm really good at Venmo. I'm really good at Kajabi. Like I have learned how to be a match for it and to set my life and business up where the payments are always coming through.
Yeah, I like that. That was a good way. Someone can write me a check for 3 million rupees.
There you go.
I'll be stoked.
Like I'm available.
I'm available. Well, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed. I thoroughly enjoyed this. And Nikole Mitchell, and it sounds like you have the master classes that you do that have already been done, and then you're going to have more. And you are a regular guest on lots of different podcasts. You were on Double Teamed. You have so much to offer, and we hope that you all enjoy this. And if you didn't, well, then guess what? You're not manifesting. I'm just kidding. You're not manifesting right. No, if you didn't enjoy it.
I love that. It's like,
okay.
Do you guys know who Glennon Doyle is?
Of course. Yes.
Right. She's like on her podcast. She's like, if you love this, please go leave us a 5-star review. And if you didn't, never mind. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, just forget it.
I sometimes say go fuck yourself, but that's because we're shameless sex, and I don't want because people can go fuck themselves.
Go masturbate though. That's what
literally. I have a program called Unfuck Yourself, but I should probably change it to Go Fuck Yourself. And with that too, I do have an OnlyFans, which is really interesting because I was told you can't be an OnlyFans creator and be taken seriously. And I have a very successful coaching business and a very successful OnlyFans career. So I actually have a lot of women join, obviously a lot of men too, to see this integration of two very separate worlds. So if that is something anyone who's listening, you're like, how are you a mom? How are you dating someone? How do you have a lucrative coaching career and you have a lucrative OnlyFans? Like, how do you do that? Again, I'm such a believer in both and I will never choose one when I can have both. And so this is the embodiment of my work. So it's another great thing to check out if that's someone's cup of tea.
And we'll have all the links in the show notes in terms of the OnlyFans, your Instagram, and your website. The website is NikoleMitchell.com, but it's Nikole with a K, everyone. None of that C business.
And I think this is the buffet of fantasies, money, and sex. It's just the buffet. It's the all you can eat buffet.
Not like
I love that you said that because I teach my clients why settle for crumbs when you can have the whole damn buffet.
Yeah.
And it's the fresh food. It's the fresh food buffet.
Not Sizzler?
No.
No?
I don't know if those are still open.
Just kidding.
All right, everyone. Rate us on your favorite podcast app, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Ciao for now.